Hello, everyone. We'll be starting pretty soon. We'll wait another 2 to 3 minutes and then we'll be starting, just letting other people join in. All right, everyone. I guess we'll go ahead and get started. As a reminder, this webinar will be recorded. And the agenda that we're going to cover today it's listed here. Does anyone have any issues viewing this? I'm assuming there aren't. Great. I see a few head shaking, which is perfect for feedback. So the first thing we're going to cover will be MindLamp 2 updates. The second thing, documentation updates. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our new bug reporting system and how we plan to roll things out. Then I want to briefly touch on our community forums and how you can get involved and ask questions and so on. And then finally, any feedback that we can cover regarding MindLab 2, the consortium, any questions in general, things like that. So to start off with, MindLab 2 is now releasing this week. So the first big push is almost out the door. If you go ahead to the app stores for either Apple or Android devices, you will be able to download MindLab 2, and you'll start to see the new interface roll out. For the clinical side of things, the interface changes are going to be arriving next week. For translations, they are not yet ready. Translations are going to take maybe another 2 weeks, depending on which of the translations you'd need to use. Right now, we only support English language. In terms of the different features, everything that you know from MindLab 1 will be carried over. Right now, only a few features are enabled. So for example, surveys will continue to work as expected. So surveys will work. The Jewels game that I know a lot of our patients and collaborators love working with and playing with. The Jewels game, the box game. We have 2 new cognitive tests as well. One is called Pop the Bubbles. The other is called Balloon Betting, which we're working on. So they are a little bit, they're more beta than the rest of these features. We've added the messaging feature that we've talked about for quite some time. And finally, our notification system has been completely overhauled. So we're having a push notification system instead, where we can almost guarantee to a large degree that most of the notification issues that we were experiencing with MindLab 1 will no longer be a problem. So when a notification is sent out, it will be received by the app and no more missed notifications. So those are all the features that are going to be rolling out in the next 2 weeks. So right now, if you go ahead and use MindLab 2, let me show you what you will see. So MindLab 2 looks like this right now. And I'm just going to click into the try it mode. This is obviously not a real device, so things will look a slight bit different, but not by very much. And so when you log in for the first time, what we've added is we've modified the interface. And sorry, I'm clicking a little too fast here. We've modified the interface. We've added what's called the feed. And now where you would get notifications, for example, maybe some people swipe their notifications away, others will forget, or maybe I just don't feel like taking a survey right now at 8:30 a.m. and I'd like to revisit it later. In MindLab 1, it was not possible to actually go back and tap on a notification once it was swiped away. So for MindLab 2, we sort of centralized that experience into what's called the feed. So when you log in, the first thing you see is what's on my agenda? What do I have to do today in MindLab 2? And this is a demonstration account. So obviously the data and the scheduling, the settings are all very different than what you might expect in your clinic or in your research studies. But for every single day of the week that we have notifications here, I can actually go back in time. I can look at, say for Tuesday, what was my schedule? And obviously right now it's the same exact thing as Thursday. So I can see anxiety, psychosis and social, app usability, and so on. So if I, for example, let's go to the Thursdays here. If I say for anxiety, let's take that survey. So I can go ahead and walk through all the survey questions. What's great, by the way, is as I'm doing this, the time it takes for me to answer a question is also getting recorded as it was in MindLab 1. So we're also collecting all that metadata around the questions. And if you change your answer, for example, we collect that information as well. So now I'm nearing the end, nearly all the time, submit. Awesome. Now I can see that because I've taken the anxiety survey already, it shows with a check mark, meaning I don't have to go back and redo it. And if there was a push notification that was received by my device, say if I'm in, say, Safari, or I'm playing a game, or I'm using a different app, I can actually open that notification and do the survey within that notification without leaving the app that I'm already in. I can do the entire survey without leaving, say, the Gmail app if I'm in the middle of reading my emails, or the news app. And when I come to the MindLamp home screen here, the feed, the anxiety survey, say if I'd taken it already, it would still show up like this with a check mark next to it telling me that I don't have to take it again. For example, another thing that we can do is today's tip, sleep. Now we finally finished the tips feature and we can customize this. So maybe my clinician has decided that I need to focus on sleep and I need to learn how to cultivate a better sleeping lifestyle or habit in general. And so I would click on this and it would be a quick summary. And this is the content of the tip that was given by the clinician. So this is demonstration text. I don't actually know where this text came from, but it seems to make sense. I really like this tip, so I've marked it as yes. It was a helpful tip today. And I can say mark complete, and we are done. And that's how I know that I'm actually looking at all this useful information and reacting to it. So the old layout of LAMP is still in place. I can go to learn, and I can see the same set of tips that I had before. In MindLamp 1, we had this notion of app help and blogs. That's all been rolled into the tips component. So everything where you would provide to a patient some piece of information where they don't actually need to respond with, like, say, a survey, all of that would be in the learn page. And you can customize where things go. And you'll see that the accent color for this page is yellow, which we've created this 4-color scheme for the way that things are represented in LAMP. In the assess page is where all of my surveys are. And in the future, if you want to customize things, say, for example, if I want Jules to show up in the assess page instead of the manage page, because you see it more as an assessment of cognition, or maybe you want to add a different kind of activity that is an assessment, I can put that here in this page. In the manage page, we are showing off some of the newer things, the interventions that we're working on. Not all of these things are available. If you go to the try it page, you will find them all. But if you log into your clinic or your research study, it may not be available for you to try. So this is where you can go to sort of check out what's coming soon. And we've implemented the journals feature. So I can actually go in here and say, I'm having a great day hanging out with my friends. That's all of you. And I feel great today. And I can click submit and off we go. So that journal entry gets saved. And one other feature that we're adding soon is the Hope Box. And the Hope Box is where you can sort of save images and quotes and things in general that may not fit into a journal entry, but you'd like to save them and have them be a part of your experience using LAMP. And so I can add images or quotes and I can view what I've saved already. But what's really cool is as part of the feed, if I saved something or if I have a journal entry that I marked as good, kind of like how apps like, I know Google Photos does this, Snapchat does this. There's a lot of apps that have started doing this. I think Facebook as well. They'll bring up old posts that, that you've really liked. So for example, if you had a really good day and you marked in the journal entry that it was a good day, it'll come back up in your feed as a positive reminder. So this is a feature you can turn on and off. You can choose which activities count towards this. But if I save an image of a cat that I really appreciate, maybe I really love my dog, I can save that. And it comes back up as a positive reminder in the feed every now and then. And the frequency at which it will return and show up in the feed is determined by the clinician or the researcher. And so if I'm using this app on my own, I can also just modify those parameters myself. And the other thing is we're starting to add new controls and new features for the surveys. Right now, for example, yes, no, what if it was just a checkbox? So we're working on adding that. Instead of having a selection between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different options, we're adding support for a ratings slider. So kind of like how volume control, you can just drag across and select a point. Not very discrete. It's a continuous measurement. We're adding that support very soon, and that will land sometime either next week or the week after. And I'll also describe how you can learn more about what's coming very soon as part of later things in the agenda that we'll discuss. But now another feature is the streaks feature, which is not complete or ready yet, but just like the positive reminders, if you continue to do activities on schedule, and if you have, say, 5 surveys scheduled and you finish all 5, you'll get a reminder that you're on a streak. You've been working at it, and here we are, 14 days in, you're doing well. If that streak breaks, for example, then you'll start over. And how the streak features work is still kind of under discussion and development, and it's not ready yet, so it won't be enabled for clinical use, but it is coming soon, and it will be configurable as you'd like to see it. And in the manage section, again, I've said this time and time again, one of my favorite features is the breathing exercise. We've now added the play music with exercise option. And one of the things coming very soon is instead of just one selected audio file, you'll be able to select different audio files. You can upload, say, 4 different breathing exercises. Maybe one is breathing with sort of beach sounds and a relaxing, calm wave that kind of crashes at a beach. And then it sort of tells you how to breathe or what to think about, things like that. Maybe I have 4 or 5 different ones of these, and each one can differ between 5 minutes in length to 20 minutes in length, something like that. And they'll all get uploaded, and you can select from that list. But right now, just what's available today is you can play music with exercise and click start, and it will play music, which I don't think you'll be able to hear, and it will sort of show you this breathing activity in line. And I'm actually going to, I don't know how to turn that audio off now, since I backed out of it early. Is the audio actually playing? Are you able to hear the audio? Okay. So yeah, so the audio will play, but so it's supposed to last for the entire duration of 2 minutes, and the audio is configurable. You can upload whatever you'd like, but I'm actually going to swipe this away because I don't want to hear the audio right now, and start over. Yeah, and so the breathing exercise and the surveys, all of these different things that I've sort of mentioned so far are currently available. And the final thing that we've started to rework and redesign is actually the prevent screen. And here you'll actually be able to select different items to add to your dashboard. So if I want to see mood and simple memory, which is a cognitive test from MindLamp 1, then I can put those things together, or I can choose mood and environmental context, step count, and social context. So I can sort of customize this dashboard. And every time I return to this page, so I'm going to navigate away, and now I will return to the prevent page, and it's still here. So this gets saved for the patient as well as for the clinician that is looking at the data. And I can always open this up and expand on it and see what that data will look like. And same thing for the mood. I can expand on it, and I can go into detail and look at every single question over time like this, or I can just click on one of the data points and look at what I answered at that point in time. So all of those functionalities and features are still present. Nothing has been lost since updating from the dashboard to MindLamp 2. And the coolest thing about this, in my opinion, is it's the same experience whether you're using it in a browser or if you're using this on your mobile device. And that's kind of the big overarching updates to MindLamp 2. One of the features I want to go over very quickly is the messaging feature, which now I can send a quick message. Hello world. And this is now available, and it's received actually by the clinician or the researcher. Again, this is customizable. You can turn this off if you don't want to have a messaging component, but I can actually have full conversations now inside of the MindLamp app. And when a message is sent only to the patient, you can configure if a notification should arrive. Should they be able to see that as a notification? Notifications are not enabled for clinicians, so you will have to manually go into the dashboard and check. It will actually present this icon here when logged in as a clinician, will show it the little red bubble. And that red bubble indicates that you have a message that you have to attend to. You will not receive a notification on your phone. You will not receive an email. Those features, as necessary and as should be configured, will be available in the future. And we're really looking to work with the community and figure out what is the best way to do that, because we've got a lot of feedback on how that feature should be implemented. And I think that opens the floor for any questions on MindLamp 2, any comments, any what feedback have you, I guess?
So, Aditya, this is Nicola, UT Southwestern. We're still starting to assess MindLamp, but for the notification feature, what will the clinician or researcher see, like the patient's name or the UID, something they identified?
Yeah, so if so you won't receive a notification for messaging as a clinician or researcher. When you
Okay.
log in, you will see the name that you've assigned as well as the ID. Just in case if you haven't assigned a name, you can keep things de-anonymized that way.
Okay. And obviously the patient or participant can obviously say their name, right? We can't stop them from doing that. But by
Yeah,
default, it'll just be the ID. Okay.
yeah. Any other questions, comments?
So this is going to be the same thing with the Android app.
Yes, exactly the same interface. Um, Yeah. So the other thing I'd like to mention while I remember to is we're next week we're going to roll out wearable apps to go with the iOS and the Android apps. They're in beta right now, so if there's any issues that come up, they will not be rolled out next week. But optionally, on your Apple Watch or on your Google, I guess multiple manufacturers of Google Watches, you would be able to go into the app stores and download a corresponding watch app. And that's a completely separate interface. It links with MindLamp, but that's not yet released. So we'll discuss that, I guess, at the next webinar when it's more ready for me to show off.
Okay.
Hi, this is Andy, also from UC Southwestern. Just to kind of piggyback off Nikolai's question regarding like the patient sending PHI through the platform. So certainly patients could type anything they wanted into a message or wherever else that would be considered PHI, right? They could say, call me at my home address, this is my date of birth, this is my medical record number, all that kind of stuff. If we don't want that information collected, I assume the best way is just to disable those kinds of features where patients can send large amounts of free text. Is that right?
Exactly. Right now, there's no way to redact a message. And while all of the data in MindLamp is fully encrypted and stored securely, and we take very great strides to make sure we're following HIPAA compliance and everything else related to that. If you don't want to deal with any kind of liabilities, or if you don't want to have to worry about that, you can turn this feature off, and you can avoid adding free text responses in surveys. And that should get rid of any kind of PHI possibilities.
And so just to be clear, like the messaging obviously is getting sent because that's the point of messaging. Like the journal entries, is that also put on the MindLamp server, or is it stored locally and so forth?
Everything will be stored on the MindLamp server,
Okay.
so including journal entries. And so
Okay.
journal entries are visible. Patient journal entries are visible right now by clinicians.
Mm.
And that is something that is a caveat that needs to be made aware to the patient when they are in the clinic or as they enroll into the research study during the consent process.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Any other questions?
So on a more technical, sorry if I'm monopolizing this, but on technical issue, how would we update an existing, let's say the Docker thing that contains this once you roll out changes?
Yeah, that's a
What's
good
your
question.
yeah, what is your prescribed process for doing that?
So we automatically sort of, as new features and things are integrated, as bug fixes occur, things get rolled into a new release. And we right now don't have a system of notifications for those releases. So as something becomes, I guess, as something is updated or is ready to be updated, I'll show you in a moment how to learn about that release information. And we will send
Okay.
emails out to the consortium as something is made aware. So for example, for a critical security update, we'll be sure to email the consortium and advise everyone that is running their own server to immediately upgrade and ensure that these things are patched correctly. But right now we don't have an automated update system. And I think if you'd like to discuss that a little bit more, maybe after the consortium, after this webinar, we can talk about that a little bit, or we can schedule a meeting to go over that.
Yep.
Any other questions about any of the things mentioned here so far?
Aditya, can we upload audio files?
Yeah, so as a clinician or researcher, you can modify what audio is playing for the breathing activity. And we're working to update it a little bit so you can actually upload multiple breathing activities and the patient can select from a list and choose which one to go with. And that interface update is not yet ready, but it is coming soon. Right now, as a caveat, they if your uploaded audio file is too long, I believe the limit right now is 2 megabytes. If it's longer than that, we recommend uploading it in a third-party service, somewhere where you can access the audio file separately, and then uploading that as a link. And that will allow things to work smoothly on the app.
Kind of a related question to that is, have you all talked as a team about implementing the ability for patients to upload voice clips or audio clips of them talking for the purposes of data capture?
That's a very good question. We haven't actually discussed such a feature yet, but we have made all of the tools available should anyone else, such as yourselves at UTSW, want to implement that feature. For example, if you go to the manage page or any of these pages, these little applets that you see on the screen right now, if you want to build and incorporate a custom feature that's not available or not on the roadmap today, as long as you have some HTML and JavaScript experience, you can go build that and integrate it into LAMP. And the toolkit is available right now, but we have not built our own version of a voice snippet recording system. But it is quite easy. And if you want to discuss the implementation or the needs for that, we can also have a meeting about that afterwards.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. It sounds like the vision is to be something similar to the instrument library, where in addition to having an instrument library of surveys, you might have a managed library where you have all these different types of assessment tools beyond just surveys.
Did you get muted just now?
I think so. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I was just saying it sounds like eventually the vision might be, in addition to having this instrument library of surveys, you would also have some kind of library of other types of tools that could be implemented in the app under like the Manage tab, for example.
Exactly. That is correct. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
All right.
This is Alex in LA. Just are you aware of anyone in the consortium integrating peer support specialist as part of their implementation, or using like the messaging feature with the peer support specialist as part of their implementation? Just kind of thought of that off the top of my head.
That's a very good question. I'm not aware off the top of my head if anyone has done that. The director of our division is here. John, would you maybe know the answer to that question if you're available to talk? Let me ping John and see if we can find an answer to that. That is a good question.
Thank you.
All right, and I guess as we can respond to that question, as I have information, I'll let you know, Alex. But for now, let's move on, and then I will be sure to address that question at the end. Cool. So just returning to our agenda. So the next thing that we're going to discuss is, let me close that out. Okay. The next thing that we will be discussing is kind of the documentation. And we've been working really hard to make sure that the documentation really is the easiest, simplest way of doing things. And we're working to add video tutorials as well as self-help quizzes, where for the video tutorials, for example, if you want to quickly learn, how do I create a survey? How do I manage a clinic? We're going to have videos that you can watch on your own time and then quickly respond to a survey to test whether you've understood all that material. And so that's coming soon, and I can't really share that material just yet because it hasn't materialized. but we do have documentation updates that I'll be sharing. All right. So if you proceed to docs.lamp.digital, that's the address that if you plug that into your web browser, you'll be able to find all of our documentation and all the quick links that we'll be slowly adding and incorporating into this system. So the very first thing at the top is the quick links over here. And we'll actually be coming back to this in a moment. The second set of items is if you want to download MindLamp 1 or MindLamp 2, we've got all of the links available right here. And it's very quick links you can actually copy into, say, if you're building a protocol or if you want to add this to a handout, these are links you can copy over. And one idea that if people would like to add a QR code, maybe that you can scan to quickly download something, that's something we would be able to do as well with those links. And they point to both the Apple and Google app stores for both MindLamp 1 and MindLamp 2, and for the beta as well as the final release. So if you're interested in trying out MindLamp 2 features as they arrive, please make sure you let us know, and we can work with you to try out the beta and help us make MindLamp 2 a better platform for everyone. Now, we've also restructured our documentation into 4 different volumes or chapters. The first one being how do you use LAMP? And this is more specifically for participants or patients in a clinic. If you want to give them sort of a quick handbook on how to use LAMP, or if you'd like to extract information and put that together into a handout for them, this is where you'd find that kind of information. And the topics in this section are more what kind of data is going to be collected when you use LAMP. We provide that as a handout already for you to share with others. And we very carefully sort of put all these graphics and images together so it makes sense very quickly. What kind of data is going to be collected by LAMP and what is not going to be collected by LAMP. And we also have information on how to share access to LAMP with others. So for example, if you want to build a care team and the patient wants to invite their family member to look at that data and understand what's going on, this tutorial would help them learn how to do that. Or if they would like to reset their password, how would you do that? And then the section over here on visualizing data, this will be updated now that MindLamp 2 has been released. This will get updated so they'll learn how to assemble a dashboard for themselves and how to view the graphs of data and how to sort of understand what is saved and where that data is being saved. And speaking of that, we also have a privacy policy here. And all of this information you are more than welcome to use. Make sure that obviously we have some references to Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. So modify that information as you'd like. And you can use this for your IRB documentation as well as for other areas where you might need to have a privacy policy. And we also mention copyright, proprietary rights, IRB related information. And we obviously have worked with many collaborators on building IRB documents around LAMP and its use. So if you have any questions and if you'd like some pointers or help and assistance, be sure to reach out, send us an email, and we would love to continue that conversation. And then the next thing is just sort of the different app activities that are available. All of these screenshots are going to get updated now that MindLamp 2 is out the door. And it is here you'll be able to learn more about what can you do with surveys, what can you do with the different games. For example, Trails B, how do you play this game? All of that information will be slowly added here. And if we go back out to, say, managing LAMP, how would I make modifications to the surveys, or how would I guess, add a patient to an existing clinic? So if I click on this item, create or manage users, this will allow me to sort of quickly go through, grab all the information I need, and we've got animated GIFs to show you everything that you would have to do. And video tutorials are coming for all of these topics, and we will be sure to send out a link with the video tutorials once it's all ready. If you want to learn how to export the data, that kind of stuff is available here as well. And so the next chapter on deploying and developing LAMP. If you would like to use LAMP at your organization and you want to learn more about the requirements or the needs, and you want to maybe bring that to your IT department or bring that to your IRB, you can find all of that information over here, specifically the deploying page right here. And if you'd like to have this link handy, let me know in the chat for the webinar, and I'll be sure to share that. Deploying the LAMP platform goes over all of the different components. What can you customize? What do you have to deploy yourself? And what can you choose to not deploy? If you'd like a new user interface entirely, what would you have to modify to do that? What are the pros and cons of each approach? We've got all of that information presented right here. And that's followed by what are the requirements for if you'd like to host all of LAMP on your own, what is the computing requirement, the storage requirement, the network requirements, what are the costs? We break this down, and this link right over here allows us to go to a calculator for AWS where you can actually see exactly what services are required for, say, this scenario. And this is obviously, it depends on your needs as a clinic and a research study. This is a very rough example, and it's not going to be representative of everyone. But in this example where you're collecting both active and passive data, so including GPS, accelerometer, so on, for 100 participants, you'll be paying approximately $250 a month. And this is in this exact scenario. If you feel like you want to adjust this cost or look for a cheaper alternative, reach out to us and we'd love to continue that conversation. And we continue to provide all of this information for your IT department on how to deploy LAMP. So if you'd like your IT department to take a look at this and see how feasible it is to deploy this, this is the link that you would send them and they can take a look at it from there. And all of these steps are fully detailed and documented. We're working with AWS to make this process even simpler, to the point where we may have a single click button if you choose to use AWS, and that would deploy everything automatically for you. So changes are coming and we're improving this documentation. But for now, the last chapter that we want to talk about, if we go back, the last chapter is the data science aspect. So how do I work with the data and what kinds of data can I collect? What are some examples? So if I want to if I use R and I want to work with my data, how would I do that? And we actually have a lot of code samples here to do that data science. And actually, John, now that you're available, Alex, would you like to reiterate the question that you asked earlier?
Sure. Hey, Dr. Torres. I'm just wondering if there's anyone in the consortium that has integrated a peer support specialist as part of their implementation. I was just thinking about the new communication feature that brought up that idea, but I'm just curious if there's anyone I could learn from that's integrating peer support services.
No one, the simple answer is no one has yet done it. I think people have asked about it. I think what makes people moderate or just kind of setting up the legal precedent that people know that there's certain times that chat is responded to and not responded to has, I think, been intimidating for some people again. So technically it's easy to be chatting away on it. But I think it's more the healthcare lawyers have been like, well, what is the protocol for it? What happens here? So no one has done it. It should be done because clearly that's one of the most effective uses of apps is to connect people and build community. And that's why we built it. But we've kind of, yeah, so the answer is no, but I think it's your legal people are the barrier, not the technology.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding, say, the documentation or LAMP stuff as a whole so far?
Just curious, is there a way, and maybe I just don't understand some of the stuff very well, but is there a way to interface with REDCap?
We haven't built a way just yet to do that. It's not difficult because LAMP allows you to sort of export and work with the data, say in the format of Excel files or other structured data formats, and so does REDCap. So it is actually possible in theory where you can connect REDCap and LAMP and have them talk to each other. And it's not something that we've done just yet, but it's something that we'd really like to do because you're not the first person to actually ask about that feature, and we know that that's in high demand. Any other questions so far? And let me head back to the main page for the documentation. And I think, so as I was touching on all of these different updates, what's coming out right now, what's coming soon, We are working to compile all of this stuff in one place where you can understand what is the state of MindLamp today and what is going to come out soon. So if you take a look at this link over here, read the release notes. This is actually where we're starting to build a set of release notes and mention what are our priorities, what is coming soon, what are the features, and what is actually being done. So improvements, bug fixes, and features. And as MindLamp 2 finishes its rollout today and tomorrow, you'll see a new release note actually show up where it'll explain all of the different interface changes, all of the different functionality changes, what are all of the new features, and any of the bugs that have already been fixed. And this is the central hub where once something is updated, we'll send an email out to everyone to make sure that you all know that something has actually been updated. And if you want to look back and see what has already been done or fixed, you can come here as well. One of the things that we want to point your attention to is if a bug has not already been resolved and you're experiencing a new bug, for example, there's a new quick link right over here called report, I need to report a bug. And it's a really simple feedback form where it's actually just a Google form. You can plug in what is the bug, what are you experiencing, and then if you have a screenshot you'd like to upload, you can add that, and what versions of the devices or the app that you're using. And once you hit submit, we have processes now where basically we will reach out to you and make sure that you are aware of the bug every step of the way. And once the bug is fixed, or if we know what the bug is, we'll send an email out and add it to our release notes stating what was the bug that was fixed. And if we need more information from you about how do we recreate this bug, is this something that's only experienced by you, we'll reach out to you by emails as well. And even if you're sure that someone else has reported this bug, please go ahead and report the bug again. If you think this is something important enough that needs to get attention, we'll know that as you report a bug. And if you have any questions about this form or this process, you can always send us an email. The contact information is in this form and in the documentation on every single page. And if there's something that's not covered by bug reporting, or if you have a feature request, you can use that form as well, or you can email us directly and reach out about it. And if you have questions about features, or if you'd like to discuss the features, this webinar, for example, is a good place to do that, along with the community forums, which the community forums are located at community.lamp.digital. And I know some of you have already been very active in this forum. If you have any questions, say, for example, I'm going to go here to this data analysis section. Different collaborators have asked questions about, for example, GPS data. How do I work with this GPS data? What are these different fields? How do I use this different third-party framework with our data? And so we actually provide assistance there. And what's really cool is everyone in the community kind of works together on this. And there are actually, if I go to, for example, let's see. Yeah, so this is a question actually that Andy, you asked, and it was a really, really good question because it actually it kind of prompted us to say, wait a minute, do we have some kind of documentation around this? Do we have a list that explains all these things? What pipelines are available today? What kinds of things are coming soon in the area of passive data collection and monitoring? And it was actually one of the questions that prompted us to rework our documentation and really start to expand on and build on our documentation and processes around it. What was really cool is Nina is actually from Monash University and also is working on using the LAMP platform. And I think this really goes to show how amazing this collaborative process is, that people across the globe are able to work together to build a better system. And of course, we also take all the feedback that we get from this community and put it into building a better platform, building better documentation, and building better processes around this. So if anyone has any questions about, say, the feedback, the documentation, the consortium, the community, I'd be willing to field those questions now. Great, I guess no questions so far. Let me double check. It seems like there's something in chat. Yes, let me go ahead and revisit the deployment page and paste that in the chat, as we just received a request for that. There we are. So I'll be pasting this in the chat, the document that sort of describes all of the requirements, all of the components, how do I deploy LAMP on my own? And that's a very good question. Thank you, Jonathan Lin. And I think the final part of the quick links that I want to go over briefly is, if you're interested in using LAMP and you haven't already, or if you want to show LAMP to someone else who's interested, there's another processes form here. If you click on I'm interested in using LAMP, it's a Google form that allows us to better understand what you're looking for in LAMP and better customize things as you'd like them. And you can sort of answer all these questions. Do you have any issues with a study protocol? Are you a clinic? What features are you interested in? And so on. And this helps us better understand who's using LAMP, how do we assist you, how do we work together to build a better platform. So if you have anyone else that wants to use LAMP, you'd like to share that link, it's present from the docs.lamp.digital homepage, and you can just copy the link from right here. And finally, we also have a Who's Using LAMP page, and we're working to update this now with more. But this is where we sort of feature basically everyone that's been using LAMP and everyone that will be using LAMP or is using LAMP, as well as their projects and publications. So if you have any questions about that, you can always send us a message, either in the consortium or the community forum or as an email. And if you'd like to be featured as well, you can let us know. We have, every month we do a quick 2 to 3 minute video on our website talking about, or the partners that we feature, they talk about what they're using LAMP for and what their projects are. So if you'd like to be a part of that, let us know. And if you have any questions about that process as well, you can also let us know and ask that either now or in the email. Yeah. And so I think that concludes, let me switch back to the agenda here. So yeah, I think that concludes everything that we had for the agenda today. Does anyone have any feedback in general across all of these processes? Any questions, any comments?
Hi, this is Alex again. Is this recorded? I had a colleague that couldn't make it today to watch later. That's always interested in just being up to date on the available features. And there's even another person on my team that was interested but couldn't make it.
Yeah, so this is actually recorded and we will be posting the link. Let me know if you'd like a separate email and I can send you the existing recordings archive. And we'll also be posting these along with all the other video tutorials and things in the same repository. So when that's uploaded and available, we'll let you know.
Thanks.
Any other questions or feedback?
So last thing, Aditya, what's the best way to get in touch with you? To schedule something offline, more technical discussions?
Yeah, so you can reach me directly with an email address that I'll place in the chat. But
Okay.
if you send an email to team@digitalpsych.org, then you can reach our team and we can schedule a meeting, talk about things from there.
Okay, awesome.
And I'll go ahead and place the emails here. All right. So if you have any questions or you want to reach out and ask further steps, you can either, mention it here and now. We can schedule something if you email team@digitalpsych.org and go from there. Any other questions or comments, feedback? No? Okay. Then I guess we can wrap things up here. All right. One more minute for any questions, just in case things pop up.
I have nothing to add.
All right, then I guess we'll end it here. Thank you everyone for joining. And as this gets recorded and is made available online, we'll send a link out with the repository. And we also have both of the prior webinars, the one from August as well as July. They're also recorded. And so you'll be able to take a look at what we've discussed in those ones as well. Thank you all for coming. If you have any other further questions, again, email team@digitalpsych.org or make a post in the community forum. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.